What are some of the things that you do with your own children to help them learn about money?
First of all, they're subscribers to our channel.
They are subscribers to our YouTube channel. They're like, Mom and Dad, I'm like, well, I don't know if I want them to watch everything. Sometimes I'm talking about Christmas.
We don't know they subscribe.
I'm like, I'm talking about what I got you for Christmas. Like, it's not even Christmas yet.
Don't watch that one.
How old are they too?
So our oldest is 11. We have an 11-year-old son, then we have a 9-year-old daughter, and then a 7-year-old daughter. So we have 3 children. One of the biggest things that we teach other parents to do, and one of the biggest things that we do here in our home is share with your children, bring them on the journey. We put how we paid off our mortgage on YouTube. We brought our children into the bank. Nobody looked like them in the bank. They walked in the bank with pretty dresses on. Our girls, our son was spiffy, and we showed them, look what Mom and Dad did. This is why we couldn't always do what you all wanted us to do. This is why you all saw us meal planning. This is why you all saw we couldn't go out all the time and maybe eat out as much as you want. Bring your children along the journey. Children are very resilient. Now, of course, be mindful. We're not telling you to put all your burdens on your children, but it's okay to tell your children, hey, we're in debt. This is something that we don't want you all to do. So we're going to now put in the work now to be able to change our financial history. And hopefully you can learn from this too. So bring them in on the journey. Show them how you budget. That's what we do. We're always talking about finances here in our home. Now we're in the talking with our children about business. They're at the age now where they want to start their own businesses. We also have them invest in the stock market, and
they have their own brokerage accounts.
Yeah.
And simple things, guys, like when they get birthday money, teach them to give some, spend some, and save some. Don't just, okay, let's go spend it. Because again, you're developing patterns and habits and routines. If they get allowance, teach them how to divvy it up into 3 pots, 3 buckets, 3 jars, whatever you got to do to teach them that money doesn't always equate to spend, but you can save up for some future thing. You can also give and be a blessing to someone else. And like Ty said, now we're talking to them about investing. Again, keep it simple. Don't try to make it complicated. So what we asked them was, if you could be, so we broke down, we didn't say, hey guys, the stock market, there are several indexes. You can invest in S&P and NASDAQ. What we said was, a stock is a really small portion of an ownership of a company. So we said, hey, if you guys could be a small part owner in 3 companies or 3 businesses, what would they be? And we had them to think about it.
They took their time. They wrote it out in their journals. They started to go in their room and look at things that they love to consume and love for us to buy them. And that's literally what they came back to us with.
Yeah, so like our son is really into games, and so he wanted Microsoft because they own Xbox. He wanted Nintendo, but Nintendo is not an American traded company. And who am I missing? Sony for the PlayStation. And so he swapped out Nintendo and he did Nike. So they all picked 3 companies. Our daughter is really artsy, and so she wanted to be an owner of Michael's.
She loves going into the Michael's store. And so now it's like when she walks in and she says, I'm an owner. Yeah. So we try to show them how they can have ownership in things. And not just necessarily be a consumer, buy, but also own it. So we're big on teaching our children ownership.
And we got them some Apple, because they see Apple products all over the house. So things like that. Just have those little conversations to plant seeds, have age-appropriate conversations and that you can continue to stack and build on.
I still invest the same way, by the way. Like if it's a product that I like, or if it's a company, I was like, that makes I watch a lot of Netflix.
We drink a lot of Starbucks. We're like, I think we need an old Starbucks.
We need some shares of Starbucks.
I'm having some McDonald's and Starbucks for those reasons. Like,
Same.
Even if everything goes south, I'll be there. I will single-handedly support the company.
Yep.
Same. Absolutely. I was going to say that as parents or even as adults, you can also invest the same way. That's what we do. We're buying all this Starbucks. These dragon fruit refreshers are like, my gosh.
It's like you're getting a discount every time you go to the store, right?
I'm supporting myself.
A little bit of cash back.
I'm the same way. Have you ever made any really dumb investments? Because I think we all have. I remember back in like the 2000 or so when Netscape was going to be the biggest browser around. Remember Netscape? And so I was like,
it was though.
IPO. I invested on the IPO. And Webvan was another one that I thought this was such a cool idea. And it may have just been in the San Francisco area, but it was these trucks, and they invested all this money in vans to deliver food, from their own stores, I guess.
Right.
I thought it was a great idea, but no, they tanked because they just got
Now
over.
it's a great idea now. It's
Yeah,
like,
well, now
like,
I think the other
They need to try
stores,
again.
Yeah.
like, I think Safeway and other stores probably just do
Yeah.
that now, and it just kind
Yeah.
of. But yeah, did you ever get into anything like that? And go,
Yeah, one of our biggest, well, we say one of our biggest investment flops was when we got in the market right when it tanked back in 2008.
market.
Real estate. Back in 2008. Oh my gosh. And we just found out we were pregnant with our first. So it was like, what do we do?
There
We're
you
putting
go.
all this money in this house to remodel it. We find out that we're pregnant. The market also tanked. It was like, it was a scary time.
Yeah, so we had 2 mortgages, 2 tax bills.
Right, we had our mortgage on our home.
2 sets of utility bills, and a baby on the way, and a market that was crashing. So that wasn't
we got
fun.
in right when it,
Yeah, we didn't know that.
My gosh.
Yeah, this historic collapse was on the horizon, and it collapsed all around us, and so it took us a while to get through that situation.
Yeah.
Well, it was 10 years later, actually. June 17th, 2018 is when you uploaded your video called We Paid Off Our House in 5 Years. It was probably one of the biggest smiles I've had while watching a YouTube video in a very long time. The fact that you explained why everybody dressed up and your 3 children just looking adorable in that moment. And you made a sign and you record it and you're like, we probably look crazy with the sign and the thing, but this is what this is all about. So clearly that was a very, very, very important moment in your lives. So just really quickly, just talk to us what that wave of we're finally debt free, and maybe not completely debt free, but at least like the largest investment
We were
in your
completely
life.
debt-free.
That was
Completely debt free. So that's the moment. So like, what is, like, crystallize that feeling as best you can.
Oh my gosh. I get emotional every time I think about it. That's why I'm not going to talk too much on it. Cause I'm like, even what this has been, it'll be 3 years that we paid it off. It still has not gotten old. When I tell you we're extremely grateful, the feeling is indescribable. To be able to especially go through a pandemic like we just did and literally be grateful and at the same time, very compassionate towards others that are going through tough times. People have got laid off their jobs and things like that. They didn't know how to pay their mortgage. We were so grateful to see this is why we put in all the hard work for this moment right here, right? So that's what getting out of debt is. You may literally be financially stable, right? But you don't know your future. You don't know literally who would have ever thought that the entire world almost at the same time would be shut down. Like planes weren't going, manufacturers and companies shut down. It was unbelievable time to live in. And so for us, it was indescribable. It was amazing to be able to take our 3 brown children into a bank. And literally, when I tell you, no one looked like us in the bank, they were shocked. Like, what are you all doing? We're here to pay off our last mortgage payment. And I remember people were amazed. We sat in their lobby inside. They gave us like access to a meeting room. And we went live to be able to share what we just did. Tears would flow to be able to see our children playing in the playroom and knowing that this is something that they own, to the point where we drive up into our home often. And they say we're driving up to our paid off home to be able to instill that in our children and show them what we were able to do. It's just, it never gets old. I literally wish that I could take my hurt and like everybody could feel what I feel. It's indescribable. Like there's not even a movie that's out there that can be able to convey how we feel in this moment.
Yeah, the best part for me was I think when we got home after that and logged in, and it literally said paid in full on the screen.
It literally said paid in full. And he walked me outside our home, and we stood in the driveway. It was nighttime. It was dark. The kids at this point, we had went to a nice seafood restaurant. We took the children. We explained this in the video. Our kids were so young to really be able, they really didn't understand. When we told them we paid off our house, they were like, what does that mean? Are we moving?
Yeah, are we moving?
You know, they didn't really understand really what, okay. I remember our son, he was just like, oh, okay. So we took them to the store and they got to pick out whatever they wanted in the store. We wanted them to be able to remember and to earmark this moment in time. So when they're 20, 30, 40 years old and they're talking to their children, they remember that moment. And so when we came home, we saw the words paid in full. We walked outside into our driveway. He told me to look up in the sky. I saw stars in the sky, and he said, we own even the air that's above this home.
It's true.
And it was just, that was a moment that just, like I literally kind of like stopped time and took it all in and absorbed what we were going through. And it's been amazing. It still has not gotten old.
Nope.
We're still grateful. We still think about it all the time. We even watch the video sometimes as well too and still cry again. But yeah, it's an amazing feeling.
Talk about a return on investment. Way more than however much money actually went into that house is what you got out.
That's it. And people, because we are a
Yes.
financial channel, and people like to do math and say, well,
Correct.
you could have did better if you put that money in the market instead of putting all that extra money. But you can't put this in a spreadsheet.
You can't.
What we feel,
You can't.
the power that we feel, the independence that we feel, the
peace,
gratefulness that we
peace
feel.
that we feel.
You cannot put that in a calculator.
You can't. And see, and Tyler and I, our investment tolerance, I'm more conservative. He's more high risk. And so for me to be able to say, okay, Tyler, go now. You can have fun with the money. Now we don't have to pay the mortgage. Okay, whatever you want to do with it, that's fine with me because I'm sitting in a paid off home. Like nobody can take this home away from my babies. So for me, it was more of an emotional feeling than it was financial. Then it made really sense. So then the month after, when we didn't have to pay our mortgage payment, we saw the money in the account. And we're like, we get to do whatever we want with this money. And so that's when we started to really ramp up our business. Tyler ended up coming home from your job, not even a year later.
Yeah, about a year. No, less than a year. So
yeah, less than a year.
8 months later.
8 months later, he came home. We're doing this full time. It's just been amazing.